So I actually didn't get to talk to you last week, which was episode 1 or whatever. So we get to do a little episode 1 and 2. So give me a quicker version of episode 1 so that we can get to episode 2.
So episode 1, we basically get our first kind of experience of a Marvel show that is not something we've seen before. I mean, it's one of the most disconnected things we've seen out of the MCU so far, but what it is also a really good case study as far as someone who has dissociative identity disorder.
Right.
One thing that we've discovered after the fact, and I'm kind of glad that we, are talking about it now, is for me with episode 1, everything about it was great. Told the story, kind of gave us a little bit of introduction of who Moon Knight is.
Right.
The disappointment I had was that it was very little of Moon Knight in the first episode.
Yeah. yeah.
But the way it exited was great. But what I really, really enjoyed, let me backtrack. One of the things that caught my eye was how the CGI just looked off. Like, it looked the most off out of everything that we've seen in Marvel so far.
Like,
that being said,
Cuckoo looked good, but he did also kind of stand out. So,
yeah. That being said, I now have interpreted it differently, and especially with how they've shown in the second one, I feel like that was on purpose. I feel like the reason why it looked so weird was 100% on purpose, because
leave it to Nate to just corporate apologist for Disney, be like, oh my God, they don't have any money. They don't know how to do effects.
No. Look, they have Ethan Hawke. They 100% have the money. That's not the issue. I think what it is it's supposed to look kind of weird and to make you not really sure if it's like what's real and what's not. Because that's the whole thing that, it has in the beginning. And what's really cool is you don't actually see the main character in the first one. You see Steven, who is his persona that he has, basically come up with. So first episode introduces us to the kind of whole idea of he's not sure if he's awake or dreaming. And, we basically see that to everyone else, he's crazy, but he's dealing with an internal conflict of someone else as well as an Egyptian deity.
Right. I mean, the thing I'll say about the first episode, because I didn't bring it up the last time we talked about, but the main thing I'll say is, you remember that one episode of BoJack Horseman where we see the entire thing from his mother's perspective?
No.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
It's on the list.
Just like this. Because this dick is on your list. Because this dick you can't resist. Because this dick is on your list. All the best things in life. Anyway, what the fuck was I talking about?
You're talking about that BoJack
the BoJack Horseman episode. I'll tell you this, okay? If you skip all BoJack, okay, and you don't watch anything, but you watch this one episode, the reason why it sticks out to me so much is you see everything in the episode from his mother's perspective, but his mother has dementia. And so there's like this one lady that she never sees her face. It's always blurred out, or it's always just blank. And it's so creepy, and it's like, that's how a person with dementia would see stuff like that. And so the reason I was bringing that up is because I feel like we're seeing this from a perspective of somebody who has associate disorder. And the thing is that we're seeing a personality that doesn't even realize he has another personality.
Yep.
Because like him chaining himself up, like, first off, he chains himself up, but there's no locking mechanism. The little bike lock that has the combination is on the pole, not on his ankle. So, logically, if he has another personality, it could just unlock and then go and then put it back on, which it does several times, right?
Yeah,
So
and replaces the goldfish too.
it was
one of
that
those little
moment
things.
that made me realize, oh, he just doesn't fucking know. He doesn't know that he has another personality, and that was just interesting seeing it from that perspective of somebody like that they don't even realize that there's a whole nother person living inside them, and just how interesting they made that. So yeah, that's the one thing that I really didn't bring up last time we talked about it.
Yeah, and the first episode, like finishing it, I'm like, man, this is really cool. I'm excited to see where this goes. But it's also one of those that's like, I didn't absolutely love it. Like I really, really, really enjoyed it, but it's like, okay, let's see where it goes. Here comes episode 2, and holy fuck, I'm in.
Right.
Like I'm 100% in. And the thing with Moon Knight is I didn't really know much about the character, like most people. And so like I, watched a lot of like, recaps the characters and stuff like that. And the whole thing with Mr. Knight in the comics, I was excited. I was like, oh, this is going to be like the detective persona. Like it's just a different version of Khonshu. And to see their interpretation in the show be Steven's basically version of trying to be the hero and fucking just sitting here, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I'm Steven with a V or some shit. I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking. But it's cool because immediately they're going to like have evolution there, and honestly, seeing Ethan Hawke too, just kind of being this entirely creepy cult leader.
Yeah, I mean,
100%
for the
works.
Most part, Ethan has only played good characters. Maybe morally questionable characters, right? So at worst, he's played anti-heroes. Then there was that one with like the black phone where he, I guess, plays a pedophile or something. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but it's like, whoa. But even then, like, I haven't seen it, so that doesn't count, right? Then you have this one where, he's just straight up a villain or whatever. And I don't know if it's just the time we live in, but having somebody be like a cult leader, I'm like, oh, okay. I like this interpretation.
Well, he did say that he based his performance a lot on. I don't remember his name, and I know I should, but he was the one who was the head of the Branch Davidians in Waco.
Wait, yeah.
That
makes total sense. Yeah.
But one thing that
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I also like just how it's kind of subtle. Like he's not playing a character. Like he doesn't put on an accent. He doesn't it's not some weird extravagant character, right? He's just like super subtle. And I like that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say the thing I feel like, especially after this episode, because they really do talk more about the whole Khonshu relationship and talk. Yeah, thank you. And the whole thing with Avatar and things like that, not the anime or the blue people.
I love that in the first episode. It's like,
that was really
blue.
Good.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah. The anime.
Stop talking.
Yeah. But also like how they keep giving him shit like is really fucking great. Like that's not really true. But going back to it, kind of they showed with Eternals, and I feel like they're going to show here. They're really getting into the fucking supernatural and like God shit with like these past few ones. And someone pointed out, or New Rockstars on the breakdown for episode 2, they were talking about, just making other connections with different places, and brought up how Bast, the Black Panther, the Panther icon that they follow, is also is kind of similar to an Egyptian god.
Oh, okay.
Basically how there could be like a continuation there. But especially with what they've shown with everything with Khonshu and stuff like that, I think this confirms we're 100% getting a Midnight Suns storyline with like Blade, and we're definitely getting Ghost Rider. Yes. And I was talking about that the other day. I was like, oh, because they're talking about Avatar and talking about like how I'm this person. I was like, what if that's how they get Ghost Rider in? Like, what if Ghost Rider is what Johnny Blaze is the avatar for that deity?
Yeah,
because
that makes sense. Yeah.
we only really seen, in comics and other stuff like that, from my understanding, is like, oh, he made a deal with the devil, and then
Yeah, I think it was down
Agents
in
of
Georgia.
Yeah. With the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they honestly did have the best Ghost Rider storyline that I've seen. It was actually really good.
Yeah.
And the actor who plays him, I really do enjoy. But to get a potential like supernatural like Avengers team I'm here for it. I'm 100% here for it.
Yeah. Definitely. I do like also Ethan Hawke character. He reveals that he used to be Cuckoo Kachu's avatar or whatever, and I'm like, oh my god. That was like, I expected there to be like a relationship, but I thought it was going to be between the deities, and so that's how he knew so much of it. But when he revealed that it's like, no, I used to be the avatar, I'm like, oh.
Well, that whole exchange was great too, because whenever he was talking about like, it's like, what is he saying right now? I am justice, and he's like, you can hear him.
Yeah, it's like that episode of Rick and Morty where it's like, wait, can you hear this?
And Conchi's just kind of being a pouty teenager. Yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah.
But it's also like scary too, like the whole scene of them having, dinner and people watching those and like indoctrinating videos, and it's just like it cuts a little bit too close to home. It does. It honestly does.
Deep. Little deep.
That's what she said.
Overall, I feel like the first two episodes. I mean, here's the thing: the fact that episode 1 is just a bunch of talky talk, and for the most part, episode 2 is too, but it didn't really annoy me in any way, because we'll always go back to it, right? We'll always go back to how WandaVision. What kept us going was like the mystery. So it's like the fact that 100% of most of the episodes was just talky talk wasn't a deal breaker. Like we didn't expect the Marvel CG fest or whatever, and then we had the espionage of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. And that was really cool. And same thing with Loki, where it's like the talkie wasn't annoying because it just made sense to what they were trying to do or whatever. So, I mean, I feel like what Marvel has been getting so right about each iteration of their TV shows is setting the premise and setting it correctly. You know what I mean? Because even like Hawkeye, it was like a revenge tale. It was a redemption tale. And so even when there were these stupid segments, like when he went to the LARPers and he had to do that whole thing, and it was just kind of goofy, right? But it made sense as to like, because that suit meant something to Hawkeye. It meant something to Clint. And so they established it so well within just the first episode that, like, I think it was episode 2 where he's like, yeah, I'm going to go LARPing. And it's like, I feel like in any other situation, we'd just be like, God, this is such a stupid... Like, if it was a movie, you know what I mean? Like, if they had to condense Hawkeye into a movie, having a segment where he had to go LARPing would just be annoying as hell.
Right.
But the fact that they've made these episodic, and the fact that they've just really... they've made the setup so good that I don't miss the action. When we quite literally don't get to see the action in episode 1, that doesn't bother me because of just how intriguing the entire thing. Really good example. If they cut that shit up in Boba Fett and we didn't get to see the action in Boba Fett, I would have flipped my goddamn lid even more so than I did. But because of just how well they set up their premise, their characters, and everything, it's like, I don't care that all we get to see is talking. I don't care that there is an entire action scene where people are just floating in the air. Like, it was ridiculous as hell, but like, I didn't care because like they just established it so well, and they're doing they're doing such a good job on just really bringing you into all these different worlds, and just yeah, Disney's doing good. Keep it up.
Yeah, and the costumes are incredible too. And I think it's also really cool that after each episode aired, the respective costume showed up at Avengers Campus. Like after episode 1 aired, the Moon Knight, someone was dressed up in the Moon Knight costume, and then after this episode aired, someone dressed up in the Mr. Knight costume. Nice. Fun fact, I will say, kind of to wrap up on that overall, is like it's also cool to see Oscar Isaac actually in these outfits. Like I watched a couple interviews and he talked about, because the whole thing of, it's funny, is he was Apocalypse, so they were like, yeah, you wanted to be put in like a sarcophagus of plastic, huh? He goes, well, see, the thing is I already did that, so I thought, let's not do that this time. But they asked him what it felt like, to wear the suit. He was like, it feels badass. He's like, it's hot. I definitely have a cooling suit. But he was like, the Mr. Knight outfit. He's like, oh, I love. And then watching that past episode and seeing, I was like, oh, that's Oscar. 100% that's Oscar. Right. And like, I'm excited to see where they go and how they continue to take, because also cinematography wise, the most beautiful telling that I have seen of DID. Just because it's
DID,
dissociative identity disorder.
Oh God! Like, did you know?
Well, the whole thing of how they showed that in the fight sequence,
yes.
They showed the perspective. It looked like he was just crazy, but he was actually battling this thing. And so it's showing the perspective of him who is seeing these things, and to everyone else, he's crazy. Yeah. And see that depiction is like, it's really fucking cool. Also, shout out to Birdie Smalls in the chat.
We didn't ignore you. It's just, this is a podcast, and so we were just trying to keep it going. But yeah, we definitely saw you, Birdie.
Get a nice little birdie heart. Yes, and we had a little one to give a shout out. But no, yeah, bird-wise, Khonshu.
I mean, yeah, okay.
I was going to say the design. Somehow. The design of Khonshu is also really fucking cool. Like, people are talking about how they've been doing a lot of horror elements, like especially with how he impaled the jackal, and then like how just like the design
the jackal. The jackal.
The design of Khonshu, like with his little like hairs in the back, makes it look like he's like it's connecting his head to his body.
Oh, yeah, right.
And like, so, yeah, I'm all down for some Egyptian gods. Jackal.
It wasn't right the first 8 times you said it. Why would it be right the other 8 times? Oh man. So. Thank you guys for joining us today. I was Nick.
And I was Nate.
And we're going to leave you guys. Make sure to come back every Thursday for another Nick and Nate plus more.